Hey guys, so in this video I want to break down another one of my songs for you. It's called Thinking About You. It's on all streaming platforms including Spotify, Apple Music, and all that good stuff. And if you're an artist and you're interested in leasing it, it's available on BeatStars. I'll put the link below for the beat. And please hit subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into the song. I just want to show you my process when I went about producing it. So please hit subscribe, hit like if you're into this, and let's get into the video. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to quickly break down one of my songs that I had made previously. It's called Thinking About You, and I have it released on Spotify, and I also have it readily available for lease if you are an artist and you want to take advantage of that. And I could also send out this project if anyone's available, or if any producers are interested in having the project file. But I just want to do this real quick. I'm actually supposed to go to the title office right now and close on my house. We're selling our house, but I want to do this real quick for you guys. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the melody which I just have for the intro. That's all that's going on is this melody. And what this is someone else's melody actually, and I took it and pitched it up a couple and did a couple things to the warping shenanigans, but I haven't done too much to the sound. As far as processing, there's some compression, it looks like, and it looks like we filtered out some automation later on, and we sidechained it to the kick, and some multi-band compression in the middle. For whatever reason, I think we're taking some of the frequency out there. Let's hear it. So super cool sample. It's super wavy and kind of like, I like that emotional feel about it. And I think I pitched this to be an F minor. So everything else that was written in the song was written around F minor after we had pitched the original sample. And then so that's the intro. We just have straight up the sample, and then like we start slowly bringing in more and more drums into the picture. So that's something I did there on that sample piece. Was I did a pitch bend to make that kind of like tape stop sound. And yeah, if you look right here, that's what I did. I transposed basically the sample down to the next octave below, so it's kind of like woo, and it sounds like that tape stop effect. So there's that. And we just had some hi-hats and some claps in here. And then we let that rock out for a little bit. We let that ride, and then we bring in the kick for some heavy low endage. And the pattern's a little bit like on the off beats, so that it makes it a little bit different rather than just like, super straightforward. This could have been like typical, like, but I wanted to do something a little bit different, so. So I like to do this as for an effect to swell up into the next part of the song or little section. I like to use reverse cymbals, reverse crashes, just because it has that really high eccentric kind of energy to it. Okay, we are back on. Sorry about that. My camera battery died. Okay, where was I at? Okay, yes. So we were doing the reverse cymbal. This is an effect that I like to do to like swell up into the next area. Just because it has all that high-end information, and the initial hit of a cymbal is like, so the attack, the transient, is usually like the initial thing that comes first, right? If we reverse it, it's the opposite way, and so it starts rising up like a riser. So that's definitely the kick drum, the kick pattern, and kind of the 808 is kind of unique in this way to where it's like a lot off of where you would typically put a kick. And its hits like this, these hits are kind of just like off, not just off the grid, giving it that swing, but also off in a very strange timing. Like this is in 1.3.2 is that kick, and so it kind of gives it that, if you know what I'm talking about. You probably don't. That's just, I don't know what I'm saying. And then we've got this little percussive clap sound that's like, that kind of goes in the back, that gives it more movement, but it doesn't stand out too far in the mix, but it's back there, and it gives it that swing, that movement, because this whole track is about hitting in weird areas, hitting you in weird places. And it also swings between the two left and right speakers. So if you listen to just, it's very sporadic and random, right? But it gives it that life. This whole song, you just do one of these. And I always like to use some sort of atmospheric sound to give it that warmth, to give it that feel. This kind of stuff that you tuck under, it just makes the world of difference. Even if you can't hear it, it's there. And it makes a big difference. That's why people like vinyl. That's why people like, that old school vintage sound. That's why they, try to digitally remake it. And so if you can get some samples, like say you just go out into nature and you go out for a hike or something and you start recording sounds of waterfalls, of birds chirping and all this stuff, that stuff is super useful in your production. And you can also take that stuff and repack it and sell it. There's a tip to make some money as a producer there. So, okay, let's keep going. And then we also had this little vocal that's like, it's like this little woman yelling. It's called Ah. And it looks like that is a vocal from Kara. She is a great vocalist that does a lot of splice samples, and she does a lot of cool stuff. So I took some of that and I pitched it and altered it a little bit. And I like having these little short phrases in my songs with like, not necessarily a vocal chop throughout, but even just at the beginning, like this. Like it just gives it that much more feel, and that's the kind of stuff I like to put in my production. Alright, so we want to continue to build on things as we roll into the hook, right? Everything starts to escalate a little bit, so even if it's just little minor things, it's nice to change things up every like 4 or 8 bars, just so that you keep the listener's ear intrigued, even if they don't recognize it. They can't pinpoint it, but it's there. And in this case, I added a pad just to give it that much more atmosphere, just to open it up that much wider. Because pads are really nice for like creating this atmospheric feel where it's just like the spacey kind of feel, and it's this is what I did here. And obviously like I tucked it way under. It's like under by 30 decibels. But it looks like it was a serum patch. And I also did some auto panning on it so that it's swinging between the left and the right speaker. Again, not keeping anything stagnant. We want it to kind of keep moving. We want every element to continue to move. And so that's why I did that there. I usually use auto pan on so many of my things because we want to keep everything that is heavy in the low end centered, but everything else we want to keep moving and spreading apart so that it's all covering all aspects of the frequency spectrum, and not only that, but all of the stereo field. And right here, that transition, all I did was take an auto filter, turn up the resonance a little bit, and just kind of sweep through the frequencies of some of these tracks. And then that's a good way to transition into your next part. And in the next part, everything was basically the same, right? All we added was that pad, but that made a world of a difference. It kind of like opened up the song that much more, which is building up to the hook. now we're coming into the hook. And we had a little 808 boom, and then we turn off the 808, right? So now the hook in this song, I decided to just keep it, to bring it down even more. So the biggest part of the song, the highest point of the song was probably the last part of this verse, right? Sometimes these are decisions you can make as a producer. I could have made this hook the most energetic, but I decided to bring it down to tame it even more compared to the rest of the songs. So as long as you have differences between your verses and your hooks, these are all different decisions that you can make. You can even do one hook different from the other. Like, that's just adding that much more characteristic. That's adding that much more life to the track. But these are the kind of decisions that you want to kind of like pay attention to, and kind of like in your production, if you want to make the listener's ear stay attached through the entire 3 to 4 minute song, these are the kind of things that you have to switch up and kind of change up to kind of keep the listener intrigued. And if you notice through the whole song, I have not done any sort of leads, right? There's no lead melodic. Everything is kind of rhythmic, because this song was built to have a vocalist around it if they wanted to do so, right? I've leased these out to artists because the song, there's tons of room for the artist. So obviously I'm not doing anything complicated at all in here. Keep everything simple, keep it room for your artist. The artist is what is going to be the lead in your song. They are the lead instrument. So now we're going back into the second verse. See how we just did like little minor things to kind of change it up? If we had a lead through the entire thing, like, and like that would obviously take up all the room for the artist, right? And there's no more room for them. So we want to leave things like that out. In this case, if you're doing like an EDM song, that might be a little bit different, where you are the lead, the producer is the lead, and the instruments are the lead. And that's where you want to fill in those extra spaces. But in this case, we're doing a hip-hop-ish type song for an artist to jump on. So we're leaving room for them. So little ear candies like stuff like that. There's like, that just makes it different, right? Now you heard that. That's in the second verse, but that's not in the first verse. So now you know it's different. So yeah, that's basically the structure of the song. Like, it goes through that, and then it goes to another hook, and then our outro. So if you notice, there's not very many tracks on this. Like, there's 17 tracks total in the song. As long as you make the right decisions and you keep things moving, not that I necessarily make all the right decisions. This is kind of an older track too, and there's maybe some differences that I would add to it. But like, for, you know, trying to pump out a track in a hurry, or like just trying to get the idea out there, just make sure you do these little nuanced things that are going to keep the song moving. The things I showed you, like having the fire crackle, having the chords move, and having you know, things pan from left to right, and you know, like delayed in tracks. Like if you look over here in Ableton, you're able to hit this D, and you're able to take this entire track and delay it by 5 milliseconds or whatever you choose. And in this case, instead of having, you know, the clap completely on the grid, it's waiting 5 milliseconds before it starts that sample. And so it gives it that delay feel. And same with the hi-hats. Now the hi-hats, I did something else. Like I did 10 milliseconds forward. And in the open hi-hats, I did 3 milliseconds backwards. So everything is like completely off the grid, right? Everything is completely, it's not stale and just being centered exactly on the grid like a Robotronic song. It's like... everything has its own time and when it comes in. That's what gives it that movement and that that bounce. So even if you have a song that's super bare, like this one, there's only 17 tracks and most of the tracks are just effects and stuff. If you make decisions like this, you can make a song interesting without doing so much. You do not need to overproduce, and just keep, as long as you keep doing this and keep practicing, try out new things. Don't be afraid to try different things and just have fun with it. And that's basically it. Like, I just wanted to show you guys this project, break it down a little bit, and show you why I did these things, made these decisions, and hopefully it helps you out in your production. So if you like this, please hit subscribe, and I would love to see you in future videos. So take care of yourself. Peace.